Backstage with Mothership on Solid Rock Radio begins now. Hear the best in new music, artist interviews, stories from the road, and more. You are now backstage, and here's your host, Mothership.
Hey everybody, this week Bayless jumped on a call with me, and we talked about the new single and video for Searchlights and many other things, so don't go away.
I have Bayless with me today. Tell us who you are and what you do in the band.
I'm Jared. I am one of the lead singers, guitar player, and producer.
I'm Vanessa Bayless, and I am the co-lead singer.
I'm Haley, and I play bass.
And I'm Zach. I play drums.
So Jared and Vanessa are married.
How did y'all end up working together?
Okay, so I was doing my own thing before Vanessa and I were married, and it was just the Jared Bayless band, which is lame. And so we got married. Then we were in an Air One competition, Battle of the Bands for Air One in Kansas City. And so one of the judges there, we were just the Jared Bayless band, but she was in the band. So it was like, they said, you need to just drop it and just become Bayless. And so I thought that was a good idea because her last name was then Bayless. And then we went to Nashville and did a EP. And then we moved to Cheyenne here, where we're at. Then we met Zach and Haley. I'm a worship pastor at a church here in Cheyenne, and so Vanessa was serving on that team as well. And then these guys showed up, and they're on my team as well. So that's kind of the short version of how we all got to this point.
Y'all really work together then.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I think it works well because our church people support us too. They're so excited, and they come out in droves to see us and support us. And the thing that's the most awesome about our people is that I remember on a night of worship that we were doing an album release, and we did a worship album for our church. And I screamed for the first time in a church setting. And everybody went crazy and thought it was awesome. And they all love it from all age ranges. They all love it. I think they understand the emotion behind it. It's not something to be flashy. It's something that comes from the gut. That's how they feel. I don't know how many people said, I was screaming along with you right when you did it. It was like they just knew that's what needed to be done. And in church service on a Sunday morning is pretty cool. And nobody got upset at me. And so I think that's why it works well, because they understand our hearts and they understand all of us. And they've seen us on week-to-week basis and how we worship in church. And so they know that anything that we're going to put our time to on the outside of that being the band, that it is going to be similar. So I think that's how it balances pretty well.
When you first got started, were you using touring musicians?
Actually, when we were in Nashville doing our EP, that time we worked with John Steingard, and he was the one who said, hey, he's like, you guys should just be Bayless and then just add people as you want. And so it was like, okay, so we don't have to be like a full band, so it was kind of just, wasn't necessarily for hire, but we were trying to pick the right people and still keep the nucleus of what the sound would be. And so then we came here when we did the Ready Aim music video, and then it was like, guys want to do a music video with us? And so it just clicked and it worked really well. And so then we were just like, maybe we're a band, because we already play together already. We just haven't done it with this music. And so yeah, it was like a slow transition to what we are now. But yeah, before that, it was kind of just sort of for hire.
Yeah, I think Zach was more like, am I part of the band now? And then Haley just assumed she was, and we did too. So that's just kind of how.
I'm still not sure if I'm in the band or not. Is it official?
Stop.
Zach, how did you know that this was the place you needed to be?
I was actually in some touring bands before Bayless. So what I did for about 6 years, toured the country with a couple different bands with my brothers, actually. Did that for a long time, and it was a secular band, so I never really did it worship or Christian. We were all Christians in the band, but it was just secular music. When I got off the road and our band came to an end, my oldest brother, he actually got MS. He was a guitar player, so in his fingers, he couldn't really play as well anymore, so that kind of led us to the end of the band and stuff, and came home, and I was actually like depressed and stuff, like your whole world kind of comes crashing down when what you love ends. And through the depression, I was like thinking of like, how can I use this? I need to get this outlet out there. How do I play for God? How do I do this in a worship way? I actually came to the church Element, and I auditioned for that, and got in with Element, and that was probably like the saving grace kind of thing. I was able to still play, but I wasn't doing it for myself anymore. I was able to now do it for the one who gave me the talent. It was only like maybe a few months, 6 months or something like that, before they came to me and was like, hey, we're making this music video. do you want to be in it? I was like, sure, why not? They came to me with like this crazy idea for one, and I was like, I don't know how you guys are going to pull this off. You guys are crazy. And then when we finally, pulled that off, it was like, all right, this is cool. I like this.
So how long have you played drums?
I've been playing drums for 15 years, 16 years or something like that.
You still look like a teenager.
I know, yeah. Professionally, I've been playing for like 10 years, like 9 years.
Haley, what about your music background?
I started in music in like third grade, and I was a classically trained violinist. And that was an awesome way to learn the stringed instrument world. So, as I get older and you discover rock and roll and everything, you realize you want to do that. And violin does fit in rock and roll, and Jared has definitely proved that. But I went to a concert and saw a bass player and was just enamored by it. So my parents got me one for Christmas. So I grew up as a bass player and then a guitar player too on worship teams. That's how I learned how to hone my craft and stuff, but then also playing side band stuff with my friends and Battle of the Bands and covering Flyleaf and Skillet and Red and all that stuff. Every time I've moved then since I was an adult, I've always wanted to join a worship team just because I know I need that outlet and I know that I need to use my talents to glorify God because he's the one who gave them to me. And so when I went to Element Church, I immediately wanted to audition. And then my first day playing for the worship team was also Jared's first day playing for the worship team. So it was just like perfect timing. So we've been doing that now together for almost 10 years now. So it was just playing together on the worship team. I also work at an advertising agency. So I have experience in creative direction and video. And when they started talking about a music video for Ready Aim, I was like, yeah, I would love to be involved, thinking it would kind of be from like the video side of it and helping direct. But in the back of my head, I'm like, please ask me to be in your band. Ever since, I met them pretty early on at my time at Element, I always admired what they did. And I was like, oh, man, it would be rad to be in their band one day. And then it happened when it came to this music video. So it was really fun to come together and create something together and something that was really ambitious, but then also getting to play together. And that's kind of being the moment where it all culminated. And we're like, yeah, this is the 4-piece that we're moving forward with to do more things. So, yeah.
Awesome. Do you prefer playing bass over guitar?
Yes. The short answer is yes. But I do love guitar. Out of necessity, I've had to learn it and hone it a lot more with the worship team. And Jared's really good at pushing the people on our team out of their comfort zone to try new things. And he's also got me singing on that worship team. I don't know how he did it. It's happened. All of a sudden, I'm like, wait, I'm doing so many things. And he's just in the background masterminding it all. It's given me a real love for guitar. But the best part about playing guitar is it's made me a better bass player. When I go long bouts of playing guitar on the worship team, but then I go back to playing bass with Bayless, I'm like, oh, I'm way faster than I used to be. This is great. And you need to be fast to play songs that Jared writes.
Yeah. Vanessa.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about your musical background.
Okay. I grew up with 4 other siblings, and we were all required to do some piano, some type of something, but I just got bored with piano. So my piano teacher decided, well, what about singing? You like singing, don't you? Oh, yeah. And so she was also my vocal coach. So I started singing when I was 12 or 13. I lived in Ohio at the time, a little tiny town. So it was all country music all day long. So that's how I got my start. But then when I heard rock music when I was younger, and then of course when I heard Skillet and saw Skillet in concert for the first time, 13 years ago, of course, I was just in love. So, haven't looked back. It's always been a part of my life, always been on a worship team or some other band. When I was, I think, 15 years old, my brother, who was also doing some music at the time, he entered the John Lennon songwriting contest that they put on every year. And I sung on his song, and we actually won. So they flew us out to New York and everything. And I
didn't know this.
Yeah, it was the BMI record label put on by Yoko, his wife. And yeah, they flew us out there, little homeschooled 15-year-old girl out there with all these people. I had no idea what I was doing. Yes, even when I've tried to stop singing, because I'm also a nurse. I've been a nurse for almost 17 years now, and it's always been a part of me and what I do. So Just grateful that we get to use it in a way that glorifies God.
Jared, when did you pick up a guitar?
19. And I didn't sing either, and I didn't play any instrument. I played video games. And my friend got me into Metallica, and I just don't know why, but I just suddenly was like, I don't want to do video games anymore. I want to play guitar, and I have no idea what I'm doing. So I sold my video game system, went to a pawn shop, bought a guitar, and asked my friend's brother to teach me the first 30 seconds of 4 Metallica songs. And that's what I did, very poorly. I went off to college, and then I was at a dorm devo at night, and I was doing music, but I was sucking really bad because I didn't know what a G chord was and I didn't know how to do it. And everybody else could play a G chord, and I could play Nothing Else Matters. But anyway, and so then I just decided remember just prayed silently. All right, God, if I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do anything secular. I'm just going to do it for you. That's kind of when it started for me. And it was just like this desire and passion.
Backstage with Mothership returns after this. Out Performance Shop is a proud supporter of Solid Rock Radio. They specialize in retail and wholesale of automotive high-performance racing and off-road products. They also carry a variety of accessories from remote control cars to rock and roller multi-carts. On the web at outperformance.com.
Tell us about Ready Aim.
He started writing actually right after, I think it was his first ACL surgery. He was like immobile, and our studio was in our basement, so he would crutch down the steps to get to the studio, but he had nothing else to do. He couldn't work. He couldn't do much. So he actually started writing music for Ready Aim.
The day after surgery.
Yeah.
I was on like painkillers. I was like, let's go after the darkness. So that's kind of how it started. And it was like, everything's so clear now. So I did that with my leg propped up and just all alone. I remember actually, because I remember the day of surgery, we came back, and I had already had this surgery twice. And it's really, really difficult to come back from ACL surgery. So to have to do it again was like, I kind of broke down a little bit when we got home, and it was just like, okay, I just kind of needed that. But I kind of was like, I have such a long journey ahead. Plus I found out I have to have another surgery. So it wasn't over. And so when I got to Ready Aim, I was so tired of going to that really dark place that you let your mind go to. And we all do that. We let our mind go too far. And then I realized a lot of it's just lies. And then you realize, oh, I'm not the only one. And so then I kind of liked it as the anthem of, we're going to go after the monster instead of just sit back and be like, let's just take it until he's done, and then we'll walk away. And it was like, this is stupid. This is against scripture. It says we have the power to raise Jesus from the grave. So what are we doing? Just my personality. I'm a fighter. So it's just like, why don't we fight back? And I couldn't fight, like physically. So I started writing and just plugging away at Ready Aim. And so it has a lot more special meaning. So that's just the origin of it. As far as the music video, when we were like, okay, what should this be? And then it was like, well, I have some ideas. And then we kind of just started snowballing. And it was at this actual table that me and Haley and Vanessa all sat around on us. It was between services on a Sunday. And we're like, let's just storyboard it. And then we're like, this is insane. And that's kind of the short story.
You actually were nominated and won a Grizzly Award for that. What was that like?
That was surreal.
It was really awesome. It was such a huge honor. We really didn't expect it to take off the way that it did. Zach was saying, we sat down 2 weeks before we needed to start shooting it, and it's the middle of winter, and he's like, you want to do what? I don't know. But then we got to go to the area where we were filming. Everyone was there with us and scouting out the location, and he was like, this could be pretty cool. This is pretty awesome. Pretty creepy place, actually, that we used.
That place was crazy. It literally on the front of the building that we did the band season, it said hell. And the landowner that we were told, they'll never let you on there. Because it's been tagged, all these things. And they said, I'll never let you on because he says no to everybody. And we had somebody ask, and he said, yeah, sure, they can. And immediately, didn't even push back. Well, then I found out that, there's satanic worship there.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Oh, wow.
There was a mural of some other creature was in the basement. It's just insane.
Yeah.
That is insane.
We had a lot of people, honestly, surrounding us with prayer, 24/7.
What was that experience like for you, Haley?
Getting to play music live with my friends is one of my favorite things in the world. But when you're doing it for a video, you have to exaggerate it even more so the camera gets it. And just watching all of them go beast mode just pumped me up to go super hard too. So it's just I'm going to headbang till my face hits the floor. But yeah, and then I remember getting Vanessa up on the roof of that building and flying a drone around, and she was just freezing, but she gave it her all. It's one of my favorite shots in the video. But then also, some acting. That was kind of fun, like you always think in your head, I could do this, or maybe I can't do this. But then you're just like, you let go of all of those worries and you just like be in the moment. And it was actually really fun to just be like running through a field with all these weapons, like we're going to fight this creature. It was super cool to be doing it because all the people in that video, like, are our friends and our family and our church family. And so it was like actually a very literal experience of like, we're charging at this animal as this united body of believers and people who have each other's backs. So it was like, I don't know, the video became very literal for me, like a very literal interpretation of what we were singing. Even where we were performing and doing those shots was a place full of darkness. We were literally bringing light into the darkness and coming after it. So yeah, it was a super cool experience, one I'll never forget.
Yeah, when you watch the video for Ready Aim, when you see like some of the passion, maybe even anger in ways when we're singing these lyrics, I mean, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but like personally, I was singing like into that darkness. I was declaring like the name of Jesus over this darkness, and not just over the area that we were in, but in this situation like each and every one of us was in, because everyone in that video was dealing with something, right? We all have our darkness that we're trying to conquer. But when we talk about coming for the darkness to take back what it stole from us, like we tried to make that as visual as possible. And that was really emotional for a lot of people. I mean, it's still emotional for us, but just know that when you're watching that video, it's not just acting. Some of it was acting because we were hypothermic and we had to get through it, but most of it was very real.
You guys seem to put a lot of emphasis on your videos as a means of getting a message across.
I think we all appreciate storytelling, no matter what the medium is. But I also think that's been missing from music videos for a pretty long time. And maybe less so in the Christian realm, but definitely in the secular realm. It's just about cool shots and hot chicks and stuff like that. And it's like not about, and it's just about cool visuals and like sex appeal. And that's boring. So we've been, fans of storytelling and the music videos from when we were younger, the ones that got us into music. So it's kind of like bringing back that storytelling aspect of it. And I think Ready Aim was super ambitious in that storytelling realm, and we pulled it off. And so we were like, well, what else could we do? So because it came to life and it actually worked, we trusted ourselves, and that definitely made its way over into when we worked on Adelaide's Masquerade video, and then now our recent one, Searchlights.
Yeah, we want to get into Searchlights. Let's talk about that one. You have a new single and you have a new video. Tell us about Searchlights.
Well, Searchlights was written not so much, our first album, Ready Aim, was written kind of as like a charge, we're coming for your darkness, ramping up people to go out there. But Searchlights was a bit different. We wanted to kind of turn our focus from kind of like this war cry to more of a like a call of desperation for Christians to start becoming the light in the darkness that they are supposed to be, the searchlights in essence. We Jared talked about how if you're out at sea and you see someone in the ocean drowning and you pull them out as fast as you can, you don't ask them, like, well, how'd you get here? Is it your fault that you got into the ocean? No, you don't do that. You pull them out first. You tell them that they are safe, they are loved, and that's what we are there for. We're there to pull people out of the darkness. We're sending out a searchlight. If you're lost and drowning, look for the beam of light with darkness surrounding. So that type of visual is what we wanted to implement into the video. And what you see is, these people that are just kind of floating just above the surface, and they seem perfectly content to just stay where they are. But some of them look as if they are trying to get out. Some of them look like they are not trying to get out, as if they were almost dead in the water. So, we definitely try to make that visual in our video an important part of that.
It's more of a rescue mission. Because in our world, it's like, you hope there's revival. And I think in the church world, that's a good buzzword to say we need revival, which I don't disagree with. But it also seems like it gets more and more difficult every year. We keep saying that. And so it starts to realize that we want this mass change but we aren't willing to do the one-on-one, you know. And so I'm just like, why would God bless that if he won't even do the one-on-one? Why would he do the mass revival, you know, when we won't even do the coworker revival, you know, like so that's kind of the way I looked at it, was like, there are people who are hurting out there who just want to be heard. And usually that will disarm everybody. We may not believe the same things, and that's okay. But shame on me if I don't just say, tell me your name and what do you believe in? And just tell me, like, how did you get to this? Your anger or your sadness, and like, tell me how you got to this point, because I probably am going to go, well, I don't blame you at all for something like that. But can I tell you my story now?
You're listening to Backstage with Mothership on Solid Rock Radio. Check us out on Facebook at I'm with Mothership.
How did you make the Searchlights video? That's a lot of water.
Jared is the brains and the brawn of our music videos. He films, he edits. I mean, none of this would be possible without him and his imagination. We also had a lot of help from our friends to build these sets, then volunteered to be extras, waiting in a pool for hours and hours.
The making of it was, we're like, how do we capture this? And we found a pool at a
gym.
Yeah,
gym.
kind of like a local gym. We just went over and like, can we use your pool? And they're like, sure. And it was smaller than we had, but it was the only pool that we could get, and without people asking questions about us. And so we went in and did that, and they let us do it. And we put up pipe and drape, and we told everybody, just come and get some cinder blocks, and it's going to be dark, and you're going to stand on cinder blocks with your eyes closed. And they did. We actually had to turn away people because we had so many people who wanted to do it, I think because they saw our music videos, which is super cool. And then the idea for the water on stage, that was our church stage that all that water was on. So we put up cinder blocks, and our tech director, Tim, he's amazing. I just was like, man, I'd love to be able to be in some water. I just don't know if we're going to be able to have time to do it. He's like, you sure? I saw something once. I was like, all right, we can try it. So we put up trussing, and he calculated all the cinder blocks and how much water and how much the weight would be. And I went and bought all the stuff. And then I was like, man, it'd be really cool if it looked like we're raining on us, but I'm not sure we can do that. He's like, you sure? I'm like, I don't know. Can we? So we rigged up. So I went and bought some stuff for a little sprinkler system, and we ran it over the top of us and siphoned it out with our baptistry thing. And then we just siphoned it off. And then
yeah. So Haley and Zach, you don't know this, you got rebaptized.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, were you sprinkled or were you immersed?
Yep, we fully immersed.
Yeah, it was.
By the end, it was immersed for sure.
That's a general just a bit, but.
Can we say rip to your instruments?
Yeah,
Yes,
I bought a car just to make it die. And we found drums for Zach in the back of the church and was like, I think these can be destroyed. That's fine. And Haley's like, I got one we can destroy. So, but it's always your dream. Everyone wants to play in the rain.
Gotta play in the rain.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. It was really fun. Really, really fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely one of those things where, once again, I was like, you guys are crazy. What is this, you know? And if we pull it off once again, I don't know what we're going to do next, but
Next thing, it's going to be fire, so watch out.
Yeah.
Fire. I like that.
That is an idea that's in my head.
Uh-oh.
Heads up, guys.
If something goes wrong, I take no responsibility.
Right. All the elements.
All right, so tell me more about new music, and what can you share?
Right now, we have several songs we're working on, hopefully towards an EP. We're actually we have our music distributed by Sony recently, so we're going through a company called Over the Line, and then Bob Frank's distribution. There's so much in there, but so we're hoping to put out an EP through them, and so we are chipping away at. We've got several songs that we're kind of just honing in on. We put so much work into Searchlights and the music video and everything that it was just like we're kind of taking a break for a second because we're exhausted. If you've seen the video, you can see why we're tired. So anyway, we're doing that. And then actually I'm working on something now, just kind of in the meantime, kind of like a chill thing is Zach had a good idea to do just some Bayless songs, like all of our hits that we've had, and we're doing them in like piano and strings only. And so we're going to kind of put that out, and we've not actually announced that anywhere else. So congratulations. So we'll see how that does, and put out 5 or 6 songs and do that. And just for people like easily listening, you know, Zach had a good idea. It's been fun for me to kind of go back through them and redo them in a different way. So that's kind of what we're working on. Hopefully a new EP is the overall goal, and then maybe some more music videos. We're working with some other bands also for their music videos. So anyway, there's a lot going on.
What's the most amazing thing to happen to you while you were on tour?
Being able to tour and stuff I mean, this was with Bayless. This was, with my prior bands, but going and playing shows at venues that like some of my favorite bands have played at and stuff like that. That's always pretty amazing. Or but maybe like the most memorable was actually getting my grandpa. He doesn't really do like live music, or he doesn't listen to rock music for sure. I mean, he actually listens to a lot of like worship music. That's pretty much all he does. Caleb, but we got him to come to one of our shows, and seeing my old grandpa, and he's like this rough and tough hunter, fisherman, outdoor guy, and he comes to a rock show, and seeing him in the front row, that was probably like a real amazing moment for being on tour.
I like that one. What about you, Haley?
The best part of any live show is just hearing people's stories, and them after seeing you on stage and like all the passion that you've given it, them feeling comfortable to talk to you afterwards and to just tell you any part of their story is mind-blowing to me, and the whole reason that we do this.
The story I go to, I think it was in this little tiny town in Kansas, and we did our show, and we played for like an hour, and there's this kid, he was I think 19 at the time, he just was standing there all by himself, and we're packing up, and we had to drive back like a couple hours, and it was going to be really late. And he's standing there, and we're packing up because we're trying to hurry up. And he just goes for it, and he just says, "I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't even believe in God. I moved here with my mom 2 years ago, and she died, and I'm all here by myself, and I don't know why I'm here. And somebody just invited me, and I don't know why I'm up here." And I was like, "Dude, whoa, let me get off the stage first." And I sat down, and he just, in tears, just tells me his whole story. And all I did is I sat and listened to him, and then we had to get going. But I said, "Can I pray for you?" And he said, "Nobody's ever prayed for me before." And I remember thinking, like, what a shame. Like, you've made it this long and nobody's ever prayed for you, and that he's aware of. And so for him to come out, kind of like what Haley's saying, is like, I played for an hour and sang and maybe talked a little bit, but for some reason music connects people more than a preacher standing up there talking about the Word of God. And there's something about it, we became preachers up there, which is why I'm always like, I'm much more of a stickler, probably because I'm in ministry, I get it, but like why us as musicians should be like trained to know like how to talk and tell and like be a source of comfort for people, and to know how the words to say. You don't have to be perfect at it, but to like care, because these people will come up and they're like, "You are my pastor or my preacher in this moment." And whether we like it or not, that's just what's been given to us. So we've got to be able to have a reason to say why we have the hope that we do and fulfill scripture. So I'm always like, we've got to be sharp in that, because there are people who are like depending upon us to have something, like whether it's just like, "Man, just tell me," and then just, "Can I pray for you?" And I don't have the right words, but can I give you some advice? And like that can change the world. And that person added me on Facebook, and through the years has kept up with us. And I'll never forget that guy. And like, you drive home and you're going to be exhausted, and you're just wide awake, like just amped up because of what you got to do.
What about you, Vanessa?
This was back in our time in Kansas, I think, too. Also, the people that you don't expect to meet, when someone comes up to you and says, "That song that you just sang, that's my story, that's me." Getting to meet these people that have been through some crazy things, but are standing here in front of you. They are just so on fire and so amped up because they've found like that camaraderie with you. It's just really cool getting to learn people's stories, getting to pray with them. A while ago, we did a little festival up in Billings with the Protest and Relent, and that was awesome. Those guys were great, but we also got to meet some really awesome people, and there was a lady there who had this crazy story of things that she had been through, but from that trauma and that tragedy, she decided she wanted to help other women that had been through the same thing, and she really connected with some of our songs, and she was just on fire. So getting to meet those people, honestly, it's an honor for us.
Well, it's an honor to meet you guys.
Good to meet you too, Cindy. Thank you
so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more great music, and check out my blog page on the Solid Rock Radio website for my guests' social media links. If you've missed any of my past interviews, you can find them uploaded to podcast.solidrockradio.org. Have a wonderful week, and let's be kind to one another.